Value betting is single-leg arbitrage. No hedge, no second leg. You bet that a soft venue mispriced an outcome relative to the sharp consensus, and you take the soft side at better odds. Highest variance of any strategy in Claw Arbs, and the highest expected value when your sharp references are trustworthy. An Arb agent asks, are two prices inconsistent enough to lock in profit? A value bet agent asks a different question. Is one price wrong enough to bet on, even without a hedge? Same edge math, but you accept that the bet is naked. The expected value lives in the long run, not in any single ticket. Open a value bet agent. Value bet venues. The first section that only renders on a value bet agent, where the strategy decides which sharps speak the truth and which softs to bet against. If your venue setup cannot support value bets at all, a small warning emoji appears in the header and the section auto-opens. Otherwise, it stays collapsed. Click to expand. Reference venues lives in its own section just above this one. We covered it in video 9. A quick recap because it matters more here than anywhere else. Reference venues are the sharp books that anchor the true price. BetInAsia, PS3838, Cloudbet, your reliable sharps. The default tilt's conservative. Use one really sharp reference, the sharpest you have, instead of averaging multiple. On a value bet agent specifically, your reference venues are the entire foundation of the edge calculation. If your sharps are wrong, every bet is wrong. Pick references you trust, and pick fewer of them rather than more, unless you have a specific reason to average. Target venues, where the bet actually goes. Soft venues like the bookmakers you calibrated with the wizard. Since version 0.4, you can also tick Kalshi and Polymarket as targets, since exchange prices can lag the sharp consensus too, and an exchange that has not caught up to a goal yet is a perfectly good value target. Empty target list means auto. The strategy picks whichever target venue offers the best odds for each edge. Useful when you want one agent watching every soft venue you have without naming them individually. As soon as you tick at least one target, only those venues fire. One important detail. If a venue appears in both your references and your targets, the pipeline silently skips that pair. You cannot bet against your own sharp. So if you list Cloudbet as a reference and also tick it as a target, every Cloudbet edge gets dropped. That is by design. Bet size. How much to bet per value bet, in USD. Leave the field empty to fall back to the strategy's general max bet from the position sizing section. Setting it here lets you give value bets their own stakes separate from Arb stakes on the same agent. No vig odds. The Devig toggle removes the bookmaker's built-in margin from sharp odds before computing the value edge. Pinnacle quotes 1.95 for both home and away on a coin flip. That is a margin. Devig converts the quoted price back to the true implied probability, so the edge math is honest. Per market devigging is automatic when you supply multiple sharp references. Each market group, 1x2 over under, both teams to score, handicap, gets devigged independently before the edge is computed. So an unrelated market's vig does not pollute your fair price for the market you actually care about. Quietly important on books with uneven margins by sport. And target side fees come out automatically too. Kalshi's tier fee, Polymarket's category-based taker fee, sports 0.75%, politics 1%, crypto 1.8%. The net edge you see is what hits your bankroll after every cost is taken out, not a gross marketing number. Reference aggregation. When you have multiple sharps, how do you combine their fair prices into one true probability? 3 modes. Average, conservative, median. The choice changes how much edge you expect to see and how often you fire. Average is the arithmetic mean. Balanced. Each reference contributes equally. The default. Good when all your sharps are roughly equal in quality. Conservative takes the smallest edge across references, the safest mode. If any one of your sharps disagrees with the soft, the edge collapses to that disagreement. Use it when you want to be skeptical of value, only firing when every reference confirms there is value to be had. Median needs 3 or more references and ignores outliers. Robust against one weird quote. If 2 sharps say the home team is at 50% and the third says 40%, median trusts the 50. Falls back to average automatically when you have fewer than 3 references. Outlier rejection. Sits right below the aggregation dropdown. With 3 or more references, any sharp whose fair probability deviates from the median by more than this percentage gets dropped before aggregation runs. So if BetInAsia and PS3838 agree, but a calibrated sharp goes rogue with a stale quote, the rogue gets thrown out instead of pulling your true price along with it. Set it to 0 to disable. Otherwise, something like 5% is a sensible starting threshold. Aggressive enough to catch obviously stale references, gentle enough that genuine disagreement between sharps still gets averaged in. Reopen the agent. Value Bet Auto Sniper. The other section that only renders on value bet agents. Optional layer on top of value bets. The idea: when the edge improves after you fired your first bet, fire again at the better price. Tracks matches where this agent fired value bets. Other value bet agents are independent, they have their own tracker. So you can run a conservative value agent and an aggressive auto-sniping value agent side by side without them interfering. Click to expand. Auto track and refire. The master toggle, off by default. The agent only refires when conditions are clearly favorable, which means we want you to opt in deliberately rather than have refires happen as a surprise. Enable it briefly so we can walk through the subfields. Refire edge improvement. The minimum additional edge above the last fired edge before the auto sniper triggers again. If your first bet fired at a 4% edge and your improvement threshold is 5%, the next refire requires the edge to reach 9% or higher. So you only press into a position when the value gap has visibly widened. Higher numbers mean fewer refires, but each one is a stronger signal. Lower numbers fire more often but in noisier conditions. Start high. Tune down only if you find yourself missing real moves. Max refires per match. A hard cap on how many auto sniper fires you except on the same match plus outcome. Even if the edge keeps improving every time you check, the agent stops once you hit this number. Prevents runaway betting on a position that keeps drifting. And the cap rebuilds from your paper trades on startup, so a restart does not reset the count. The system remembers what fired before. Restart in the middle of a Champions League run, and your refire history comes back with you. Refire bet size. The stake for each refire. Same idea as the main bet size field above. Leave it empty to use the strategy's default bet size. Set it to a different number if you want refires to be smaller or larger than your initial value bet. Require sharp confirmation. The most important guard in this section. On by default. Before refiring, the sharp reference has to move toward your bet, not away. If the sharp is moving against you, the value gap is closing for the wrong reason. The soft is right and your sharp was wrong, and the auto sniper would otherwise pile in as the price drifts further. Turn this off and you fall back to the legacy edge-only refire rule. Edge improved by enough, fire again, regardless of which side moved. Faster, riskier. Most users want it on. The sharp confirmation guard is the single biggest difference between auto-sniping responsibly and pressing the loser. Max total exposure. The cap on cumulative stake across the first fire and every refire on a single match plus outcome combined. The agent refuses any refire that would push you over the cap. Lets you say with confidence, this strategy will never have more than $500 at risk on any one position. Pairs naturally with the sharp confirmation guard. Even when the sharp confirms and the edge has improved, you stop pressing once you have spent enough on one match. A clean stack of safeguards. Confirmation, count, exposure. Any one of them blocks a refire that should not happen. Toggle the auto sniper back off, so we leave the strategy untouched. Value betting in summary. Single leg, naked, directional. The bet is a bet, not a hedge. When the soft venue is mispriced relative to your sharp consensus and the net edge clears your floor, the agent fires. No second leg, no second venue, no balanced exposure. Higher variance than arbitrage by definition. You will lose individual tickets. You expect the variance to settle to expected value over many bets, so the math has to be right and your sharps have to be honest. Pick your references carefully, devig honestly, and respect the auto sniper safeguards. The math handles the rest. And value bets are tracked the same way every other Claw Arbs bet is tracked. CLV is captured at settlement, the bet shows up in your portfolio with a green value bet badge, and post-mortems run automatically when matches settle. Same observability, different shape. Close the panel. Value betting. Single leg edges when a soft venue diverges from the sharp consensus. The riskiest strategy type in Claw Arbs, and the most powerful one when your references are right. Next up, the bank panel, where you track money across all your venues, see balances and profit and loss in one place, and catch low balance issues before they kill an arb.